Hey there, Alex here. For those of you new to Behind the Podium, I just want to give you a heads up that we do use adult language. You'll definitely want to grab a pair of headphones if there are kids around or you're at work. Now, on to the show.
Welcome to Behind the Podium, Unveiling the Coach. Problem solvers have problems too. So here at Behind the Podium, I, Jared Cohen, and my co-host Alexander Ellis discuss the struggles, philosophies, demands, and practices of the coach, or said more broadly, health and wellness practitioner. To provide quality coaching is to enhance someone's life in an everlasting and unfolding way. This is not easy and requires a lot of due diligence and self-mastery on the part of the coach to be able to perform. So without further ado, join us as we dig deeper into the depths of the coach's mind.
Welcome back, or welcome to Behind the Podium, Unveiling the Coach. I am Jared Cohen with my partner in crime,
Alexander Ellis.
and today we are going behind the podium, in person, not over the internet, at Oak Park, formerly known as CrossFit Los Angeles, with a coach, self-proclaimed nerd, CrossFitter, Vibram five-finger enthusiast, cell phone flipper, CrossFit coach, entrepreneur, servant of strength and health, chocolate lover, musical theater enthusiast, competitive rope climber, runner, swimmer, softball player, nurse, and kidney transplant survivor. Specifically, this guest of ours was an early adopter of CrossFit, and what began as him being a full-time coach eventually turned into him opening up his own facility, CrossFit Nerd. And nowadays, he is back being a full-time CrossFit coach at Spry Society in Culver City. Moreover, our guest is the founder and host of the podcast, The Pascal Project, which seeks to explore the nature and importance of physical vitality and longevity, entrepreneurship and economic freedom, command and leadership, and all the shenanigans in between. Without further ado, it is Alex's and my pleasure to welcome Zeb Pascal to Behind the Podium.
Jared, Alex, thanks for having me on. This is super awesome.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, of course.
It is a thrill to have you in person.
Thank you. Thank you. It's great to be here.
So, we were recently introduced as a now coach of the Oak Park team. I had the honor of getting some business coaching from you only, I think, a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I was just immediately captivated by this story of somebody going from full-time coach to gym owner, back to full-time coach. And I was like, hey, we got to unpack this in the world of Behind the Podium. So
I appreciate that.
Thank you for agreeing to just talk more about it and shine some light on the coaching journey, and particularly your long history of not only being a coach, but actually creating an environment for other coaches. I think will be of great value.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Now, before we go too deep into that, I thought we could just kick off something that maybe is a little more current in your headspace.
Okay.
So I'm curious, what is something you have read, listened to, watched, or experienced recently that has had an influence on how you coach and or your coaching philosophy in general?
Yeah, I'm going to purposely answer the question in two parts, only because of the recently stipulation.
Okay.
If we kept the recently stipulation in the question is actually reversed. I use my coaching style and my coaching philosophy to inform my out of gym endeavors and my out of gym things. Namely, the fact that my coaching philosophy is very much relationship based and very much frontline based. In that I feel like the front is everything and the floor is everything. And the more I remove myself from that, the less in touch with the business I am. And that was one of the reasons why gym ownership was not for me, at the time.
Interesting.
So everything I do as a coach and everything I do outside of the gym will almost always revolve around relationship and rapport priority with whoever. So if we're trying to so for example, at Spry today, we had Lindsay, who's the wife of Steve Sudell, Dr. Steve Sudell, who runs a stretching thing. So we arranged for them to come to the gym and give sample stretches, for the clients and for our athletes. And that would not have happened had a relationship not already been there.
Right.
And so more so than marketing, more so than like front investments, it's really about your relationship with yourself first and knowing what you want, and then meeting other people and then immediately creating that. It's just better. Like, people will always be, to me, the best and greatest asset, with you being the first person. So that's the recently.
And is there anything that maybe seemed somewhat trivial, like, oh, I saw this picture, or I was watching this part of this movie, or I heard someone say this on a podcast interview, that captured your attention in a way that then filtered back to how you were interacting with the variety of relationships that serve as the community for your coaching?
I want to say yes, but the truth is no.
Okay.
As of right now, 2018, I know nothing. I'm utilizing nothing and operating with nothing that I didn't know or I didn't intuitively grasp in 2008, 2009, 2010.
Interesting.
So yeah, so just so I can circle it back, just so I can make it fair.
Yeah.
If you remove the recently stipulation from the question, there are really two. I guess. What do we got? Listened to, watched, or experienced. There are two things that I read that form the backbone of my coaching philosophy. One of them is the article called "Professional Training" by Greg Glassman,
Okay.
and then the other one is called "The Leadership Code," the Rogue Warriors Leadership Code by Richard Marcinko.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so both of those are very heavy on high demand, high investment, high risk, very vulnerability based, like frontline leadership and getting to know your people type deals. Like, what I got from professional training was fitness training is a passion, and you have not succeeded unless your clients have succeeded, and their failures are your failures, and their successes are your successes.
Yeah.
And to the extent that you are a good coach or a great one, you are not a great one unless you know what your people do for a living, and that's only a side effect of the fact that the charter of CrossFit, or the charter of our job, is to improve their lives outside the gym.
Right.
And so therefore, if you don't know who they are outside the gym, you are just a shitty coach. And so I took that to heart, and in fact, all of it is true. To where in the real world, it looks like, hey, how do I get more clients? And my response would be, how many of your clients currently are you hanging out with on the weekends? How many invites do you have on your Facebook at any one time? And if the answer is 0 and 0, then that's why. Get out more. And that made so much sense to me. And I'm not by nature a people person, and I'm not like a big partier, extroverted person.
Yeah.
I very much wanted to just be a coach and teach people how to squat and deadlift and rope climb, and that's it. But then if I'm being told that if I want to be great, I have to actually invest in them outside of the gym, then I'm going to invest in them outside of the gym.
Yeah.
And then 10 years later, it's like, okay, and you meet, as a side effect, you meet some of your best friends, and you get all these things that you would not have expected from just being a fitness trainer. Mm-hmm. So that's what I got from professional training, and from the Rogue Warriors Leadership Code. A lot of it is like little profundities, like I will ask you to do nothing that I myself have not done first.
Right.
Like, I will be my own guinea pig. I will always be easy to find. Like, I will always be in the center of the battle, kind of thing. Like, I will never punish people for making mistakes, only from not learning from their mistakes. And yeah, so I will always be crystal clear where I stand and what I believe. Mm-hmm. And like, I will always, I will be very clear as far as what I believe in, and I will risk all that I have for these beliefs. So it's very extreme views, but what is leadership if not that?
Yeah.
So that's where those are probably the two main things that form the blueprint of my leadership style / coaching philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you handle any internal struggle or internal conflict with not being as naturally oriented towards extroverted type activities, mm-hmm. and also feeling the obligation that is so requiring of the bottom line, or serving more of the people you want to serve?
Yeah, every human makes decisions logically and emotionally, right? And so emotionally, I'm just like, just hanging out with people. I have to take a 4-hour nap and, all these things. Yeah. But logically, you know that it's the right thing to do and you have to do it. I don't like washing dishes. I don't like...
You see the value in it.
Right. But you have to do it. It's the same thing as complete fitness. You can't just focus on the things you want to do. You have to focus on the things that you also suck at and don't want to do. And so it is with coaching. You can't just focus... If you're great at presence and command, or if you're great at correcting stuff, but if you're not great at engaging the class, or if you're not great at time management, you have to suck it up and learn those things.
Yeah.
So I think I was in a lucky position with my other gyms in that time, and that I was forced to be in a position where you meet a lot of people in a very short amount of time. There's lots of, CrossFit's it's an environment that's very intense and very close knit. So there's so much opportunity for people to get to know each other, and there's lots of partying. There's lots of, just the intimacy and the involvement is rich. It's not like people put on headphones and mind their own business and don't want to talk to other people. It's crazy the reverse.
Yeah.
And so it's very easy to get swept up in that. So I kind of use that to my advantage. And so I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that, but I know I have to. Might as well have a good time, and might as well, do that. So I invested a lot in like How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, and even like I love studying just stuff in general. So the Hagakure, the Book of the Samurai, is one of my favorite go-tos. And even with them, it's like the way to gain wisdom is through consultation with others. And I didn't really understand that when I wrote that when I read it the first time. But then I think what it was trying to say is like the more people you meet, the more you understand about the world and about stuff.
Perspective.
Yes.
Enhancing.
Yes. Yeah. So that's what I did. Like to this day, even when I extend my hand to shake somebody else's hand, it's still there. It's still tough. For me.
Yeah. Me too.
But because but the 1,000th rep is easier than the first rep.
Yeah.
So
well, and it's interesting too that you describe it as a skill that can be honed, which really anything is, like whether it's focus or, being an extrovert or not even necessarily being an extrovert, but putting yourself out there and making those connections. And just a question for you too about the community with your clientele as an owner. Hanging out on the weekends, but then also this line of professionalism. And how do you balance that? I'm just asking it like for myself, because when I walk in and teach a class, there's like Alex, the teacher. And then there's like Alex at home eating popcorn, watching movies, and it's not really totally the same person, but like, how do you walk that line of professionalism while still building that really tight-knit community?
I love that question because I purposely chose CrossFit, or CrossFit chose me, because before I became even a coach, I would listen a lot to all the videos, because back in the day they only had CrossFit.com and the one video they posted every day, and it was either Glassman, Ripito, Bergener, or Roger Harrell, who was the gymnastics guy at the time. But I would just listen to everything they said because I didn't have the money to pay for a CrossFit gym, so I took like 2 or 3 years to just study my butt off, right? And one of the things that I love that he said was to be a great trainer in other fields like psychiatry, medicine, law, accounting. There is certainly a line. There is a professional line that cannot be crossed. But here, in order to be great, the line must necessarily be blurred. And so, he even himself would hang out with his clients on weekends, and there's no rules against dating, and there's no, all that stuff. And so,
for better or for worse.
For better or for worse, because I've seen it go. I've seen it go ass sideways, and I've seen it go so great. And so, it was always easy for me to draw a line, even where there should have been one. But I very purposely wanted people to know that I was invested in them 100%. And at that point, the lines can be drawn themselves. So when we're in class, it's very clear that I'm here to teach you stuff, and I have given my life and my soul to this cause, and people can recognize that. And so you don't the line will draw itself, And so, but then when you're at parties, that is not my province. That is your province. So I'm following your party lead.
Interesting.
You know what I mean?
This is your turf.
Exactly right. Yeah. It's to show me what's up. You know what I mean? But we're not in the gym anymore. I can have a good time like anybody else, but this is not my house. This is your house. Right. So where are the drinks? Where's the dance floor? Show me.
It's a good point about rapport building too, of like seeing seeing the opportunities where you can say like, you're the expert on this in this context. You
Yes.
know? Maybe it's like the partying piece.
Yeah.
Something talked a lot about in sports psychology. If you're consulting someone that you're not familiar with their sport, that's a great time for you to say like, to empower them to say like, hey, you teach, teach me about the sport. And then I can supplement that with the psychological stuff that can help you. But it really helps someone to feel like it's collaborative.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So if I can answer your question, it is a conscious decision to blur the line. Mm-hmm. And if I feel like that makes life a little more spicy and fun, and you will have professionals that you pay their services for, and you can easily tell the good ones and the great ones by their practice, in that it's either just about the profession and the service, or you straight up have a relationship with them. Yeah. And so I think to the extent that lines have to be drawn, where you can bridge the line is the relationship. Like, I've had my same doctor for about 12 years, and I'll go to the ends of the earth for the guy. Even though I've never met his wife or kids, we've never partied together, but I know that he's all in, with me, and I'm all in with him. And so, we're actually trying to write a book together. So it's really cool.
Is that the doctor you had on your podcast?
What's that?
That's the doctor on your podcast?
No, that's Dr. Steve Studell. He's another,
okay.
But I am working on getting him.
I was going to say, if you're going to write a book with the guy.
Oh, yeah.
Get him on the show.
Yep, I will. Yeah, for sure. He doesn't even know I'm doing this yet. Like, that's how new this is. Yeah. But did that answer the question kind of?
Yeah.
Sorta?
Well, and also there's this respect that goes both ways. Like you're saying, like, when you're in my turf, you respect me as a leader, and then I will respect you when we're in your turf. And I feel like some people sometimes miss that mark, and they just like demand respect without being ready to give it.
Yes. I can see that. But then when that does happen, it's like humans and animals have in their brains this thing that automatically tells them where they are in any kind of hierarchy. And you'll always be aware of it. And alphas know alphas, and betas know betas, and people who are great followers or great leaders will naturally gravitate to each other. So if in the presence of a cohort there is a good leader and kind of one who hasn't earned the right to wield power, people will not follow the person. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas they will always follow the one who understands it and who wields it responsibly.
Yeah.
Because they will do it to them.
Right.
It's like you're in the gym, and I'm here to like teach you stuff. We're gonna find out a lot of things together. But then Friday night, this is your deal now. It's like I'm here in your house now. Like, show me where the chips and dip are. Yes. So
yum, guacamole.
But yeah, I think what demarcates a great from good professional is their ability to create, manage, and maintain relationships. More so than the service itself.
Create, manage, and maintain relationships. That might be the title of this show.
That's so funny.
So let's go back,
okay,
and let's do our best to track your journey, both chronologically and qualitatively, based on whatever details you think are fitting. So how does a coach go from becoming a business owner back to coach?
Yeah. So I want to encapsulate their journey a little more. I started off as athlete first, CrossFit athlete first. And
what year was that?
That was my first CrossFit workout was 2005. I did not have the cash to pay for a CrossFit gym until January 2008. Okay. So it's 10 years. 10 years today. Here at CrossFit LA, formerly Patronic Fitness.
And your first paid gym workout was CrossFit Los Angeles.
My first paid gym workout was actually at Valley CrossFit with Mike Latch in 2005-ish. And then, like I said, I didn't have the money, and I was moving from the Valley to here. So at the time it was only Valley CrossFit and only Patronic Fitness. Right. So I showed up at Andy's gym, which was at the time Broadway and 14th, that little super small space. And he had just brought on this guy named John Birch. And so I had come in right as he was switching business models. So I think at the time it was like $100 a week for once. Or no, I'm sorry, $100 a week or $100 a month for once a week or something like that. Whatever. It took me a while to put up the cash for that. I showed up with the cash, and he's like, "Oh, we just switched to contract-based stuff, so I had to wait more." Andy, if you're listening, I remember all that. So then it was. I think my contract was $227 for 3 times a week or something. So that's what I started off with, And so I was there for a long time, and by this time I'd already done so much research on it and watched so many videos. But obviously my physicality was not up to par with what I thought, how easy I thought it would be. So yeah, easily the first year and a half was humbling, and then CrossFit started popping up left and right. Me and some friends we were driving through some place in Santa Monica, and we saw some dude doing wall balls, box jumps, and running in some middle school track. And we're like, that's CrossFit. So we stopped, and that's where I met David Paradiso.
Got it.
And so, we kept in touch, and none of us knew what was going on as far as like the market, whatever. I just knew that more CrossFits would start popping up. Andy and I love Andy to death. I think we enjoy such a great rapport and such a great like mutual respect and love for each other. But we don't see eye to eye on very many things, So,
What's an example of something?
I promise I'll get there because that's by necessity a part of the story, right?
Right, got it.
So, I was just an athlete here, and I was in contact with David, and David was just building his gym, and I was in nursing school at the time, and so I think CrossFit happened halfway through nursing school. And in my head and in my heart, CrossFit felt right. Every time I was studying it, every time I was doing it, it felt right. Every time I was in nursing school, it felt wrong. But I didn't see like a future as a trainer. I didn't see a future as a coach, even though it felt so right. It's like straight up denial. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I started coming to the gym, and only after the fact did people start telling me, like they always knew. Like all my friends were like, we always knew you would be a trainer, even though I never knew it. But I remember there's this one day where I showed up, and someone else was teaching the noon class. I'm sorry for whoever was teaching the noon class, but I showed up at the noon class, and everyone stopped what they were doing to just come say hi to me, And so that's where I think that's when I realized, like fuck, I don't. And even Andy himself told me once, it's like, Zeb, you are not the ideal like client for the gym, And at the time, I was upset and kind of insulted, but I understand it now. Because the gym was not meant for a, college broke like person. It's meant for professionals with money and time.
Yeah.
And so, but there was this one time. I think one example, just as an example, was during the contract period, I had agreed to house sit my buddy's house when he was gone overseas in the military, and so it was like a 6-week thing. So I asked if I could put my membership on hold for 6 weeks and pay for drop-ins when I'm in town, and. To his credit, it wasn't him, but it was still his associate or his enforcer or whatever, who was just like, basically no, because you would be creating your own drop-in system. And I had no idea what that meant. Like, I had no idea. And all I knew was like, this was the place I considered home.
Right.
And you're basically saying no, like I can't come in. And so I was so just taken aback and so surprised. I was like, all right, fuck you then, right? And so
I'm out.
Exactly. So when I was in town, I would start going to other CrossFit gyms and dropping in and doing that.
Got it.
And so I would start recording my stuff because we had our little forum where we recorded our workouts, and then Andy saw it and he got upset. And so he was like, why is Zeb at these other gyms? He should be here. And then that's when they told him. And so I think he was upset at that, but by that time it was too late for me because I was like, this is the business model you have chosen to adopt. And it does not reward loyalty, as far as I saw it, obviously,
Right.
And so that's just one example. Like, I think another one was, he and I had long talks like right before I left because I told him that I was going to become a trainer at another gym because that's when the offer was made to be a trainer. I think that's when like my heart exploded and I was like, oh crap, like the way destiny feels, it's like this, it's like your stomach just eats itself and your heart's racing. It's like, okay, I have to do this now, right? And so we were talking about just the upcropping of so many CrossFits around, and I told him, Andy, this is nothing. The fact that David is opening up a few miles away is nothing. In a few years, there's going to be so many CrossFits around here. And I remember him saying, well, how do I beat them? And I understand that now, but at the time I was just like, this is not about beating them. And here's what it's about, because at most your gym could support 300, 400 people maybe. How many people live in fucking LA?
There's always going to be more.
Yeah, who would want CrossFit? And you want them all? How? And so I think, and plus, I have no right to talk about how to run a business, and there's so much involved. I feel like I'm more the person who got like married and divorced 10 times, so I can tell you what not to do versus like what to do. But yeah, we would have lots of conversations, like hours long, about just the economics of the thing and where what the future would involve. And it was I found very scarcity myopic mindset. It reminded me of like territorial martial arts mindset. Like the tiger style is better than the dragon style, and how dare people leave one for the other kind of thing. And when I left, I understood later that it hurt Andy pretty badly. and people followed, which is not what I wanted. I wasn't even a trainer when I was here.
Yeah.
And that was hard for them as well. Whereas my view is, if I'm running a gym and I have people who leave, I deserve that. I did not do a good job to form the relationships for them to want to stay. Whereas with him, it was like the message. I feel like the message you're sending out by being angry at that is,
you did something wrong.
Right. Like, stop stealing my people. Whereas with me, it's like, I don't want to be held in a hostage situation. Like, I don't want you to pay. I don't want to be stuck with you as a client if we are not a good fit.
Yeah.
That is why the market needs more choices, and that is why people need more choices. And the more gyms that are out there, the higher the quality it'll force you to produce. It'll force you to create prices that will be bearable, and it'll force innovation. And so if you can't handle it, go back to an hourly job or something. You know what I mean? But don't be in business for yourself, and don't try to
Undercut someone else.
Undercut somebody, or like try to create a monopoly for yourself where obviously it won't work.
And competition too, though, it's like if another gym does well,
Yes.
their success is your success too.
Yes.
And just the flip side too is like in yoga, this fixed mindset
Yes.
and like, oh, there's not room for everybody. If
Yeah.
a yoga studio is teaching crap yoga,
Yes.
that brings all of us down,
Right.
like
Yes.
collectively.
Right.
So it's
Right.
like everyone's success is a shared success.
Yes.
And the more we can think of it that way, it's
Yeah.
just like so much less painful.
Oh yeah, so at Spry Society, there's another CrossFit gym who just opened up literally 200 meters away, and then
Wow.
Paradiso opened up like literally maybe like half a mile or about a mile away from us. I don't give a shit. I am happy. I'm actually more happy that there's more gyms popping up close to me than I was before when we were alone. Because first of all, it's going to create awareness. Second, if there are people who are I don't want to be the only game in town. Because if I have 100 people and 9 of them are unhappy, they will be a poison to the gym.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they have nowhere else
It's a
to
great
go.
outlook.
And so, my God, it's like, go somewhere else. You're not happy with our product? Go somewhere else. Get it from somewhere else,
Yeah.
There is not one Home Depot around here that doesn't have a Lowe's like fucking right there.
Right,
You know what I
right.
mean? Then that's good. Like, that is good. Like, who would Apple and IBM be if they didn't have each other?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's always that. Who would DC and would DC and Marvel be without each other? So, I feel like the mark is missed as far as competition. Competition is good.
Yep.
How good would you do on your workout if you didn't have the other guy who was like 2 seconds behind you?
You take longer breaks on your own.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. So it is with business. Like, if you're the only game in town, I promise you're going to want to like raise prices. It's by human nature. You're going to want to like do things. So I feel so alone in that. I know that's thankfully the policy of HQ is like whoever wants to open up where,
Right.
because I think with them, if they forbid someone, if they start creating territories, it'll actually be worse. The people, what if somebody opens up and they've forbidden them to use the CrossFit name, actually provides a better service, makes more money, but they're not using the CrossFit name because there's a territory right there from a shitty person. So they
Right.
just have to let everybody else do it. And so that was where we differed. Back then, his mind may have changed, by now, but it was hard. It was hard for him. It was hard for me. But like that was a long time ago. He's grown as a person. I've grown as a person. We've both been through a lot of stuff. So when we see each other now, it's
You're both former gym owners now.
Yes. Yeah.
That's
pretty much. Yeah. I wish my like departure from gym ownership was as nice and graceful as I imagined his was. But we all have to get our knocks somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I feel like that was the crux of my and Andy's disagreements on so many things, is just the bedrock economic disagreements. It's almost like Milton Friedman versus Keynesian, economics.
Yeah.
That's how it feels.
And how long did you have CrossFit Nerd?
Nerd, I think I had from October 2013 till about May or October 17. So like a year and a half, 2 years.
Oh wow, it hasn't even been that long.
No, it wasn't long at all. No, I'm sorry, not 17. Sorry, till like May 15. So maybe
okay.
I had it for like a year or 2 years. Yeah, it was very fast lived.
What? So okay,
It's like
so
Napoleon's 100 days kind of thing.
Yeah.
so it opened in 2013.
Yeah, late 2013.
What was the year that you decided you were going to do this?
To
open
open
up
the
your own
gym.
gym.
Oh, okay. So there were certain things that had to come together I knew in my head, we're going to go deep now. Like this is happening.
Let's go.
Yeah.
In the wormhole.
Yeah, we're going there. So I was extremely happy with Paradiso. Like the 4 or 5 years that I was there as a full-time coach is probably what I equate to what a 4-year full-time education should have been if I wanted to be a coach. Like if I wanted to come out with a diploma in coaching, my 4 years full-time there was what that was. And in my case, more valuable, I think, because of the real world, because of the real world experience. I knew, because Diso and I are very, very different. I knew that if the day came where I would leave, would be one of 3 things. One, if he developed his own vision and philosophy and direction for the gym that was contrary to what I saw. Because when he first started, he was just like a 60s hippie, free love to everybody guy. You know, he just wanted a gym for people, and he wasn't that comfortable with coaching itself. He was more comfortable with beginners. I was more comfortable with advanced people, and I was more comfortable with the actual ins and outs of training. So he, in the beginning, it was very much like he was the owner of the sports team. I was the head coach of the sports team.
Got it.
So that's how it felt.
Yeah.
You know, and then of course, as time goes on, he becomes better, and I become, you know, more like step back maybe. But there was that, or if our differences, as long as our differences in personality and implementation serve the good of the gym. If it ever came when our differences did not serve the good of the gym, I would leave, you know, because I had 0%, you know, in the gym, and I was fine with that. I wanted nothing, and then I think those are the criteria in my head. Like if our differences didn't serve the gym, if he started developing his own direction and he started becoming like good about it, that would be contrary to what I saw as a good direction. I would have to leave. So those things I think eventually did happen.
And did you have these like mentally in your head like day one?
They were subconscious. You know, they were subconscious. Like because you know we're starting a gym, you're just so excited and everything is new.
Right.
CrossFit was new.
We're gonna change the world.
Yes. CrossFit was new. Like the clients were new. The movement was new. The gym was new. Everything was new. And you're more worried about teaching people right form and getting them in the door and them having a good time than the back politics of it all.
Right.
So
the greater philosophical orientations that we often cling to after a certain one.
Yes, it was less about being dogmatic to certain philosophical points than day-to-day tactical coaching calls, right? And you know, personal decisions. But I don't want to speak harshly or badly of anybody, but I will say with my experience with Paradiso, experience as a gym owner, and even currently now as a coach at Spry, when you go into business with a person, if that person is married, you are not only in business with that person. You are in business with 2 people.
Yep.
In the bedrock in the legal sense, first of all, because they're half. You know, they represent half of whatever the share is, and if the partner decides to insert themselves into the either inner workings of the gym or even the mind of the owner, there is no. I could have been the best thing that happened to the gym, and the spouse could have been the worst thing that happened to the gym. It would still have to. The choice would still have to be the spouse, not me. You know,
That
and I think
resonates with me a lot.
Yes. I mean, and it's hard because by the time I realized it was like years in, and there's people there that are loyal to you, who you love with all your heart, and there was nothing. You know what I mean? And so that's as far as I think I can take that. But all these things did happen at once. They were opening up another gym. Almost all the staff was having a very hard time with the person in question. So I am not a good. It's very hard for me to like sit there and just take it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Spry Society is the 4th or 5th gym I've been a part of in 10 years, and if it even smells like I'm going to have a fundamental philosophical disagreement with one of the leadership, that is fine. But I will probably decide to leave versus stay and try to work it out.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like that's a flaw of mine that for better or worse, it just is what it is. But as I've bounced across gyms, there have been people who have followed me, which I didn't want, because I know how that feels to the owner.
Yeah.
But that's just what it was. So being a coach for that long, and I think just people were just like, how come you don't open your own? How come you don't open your own? And I was approached by 14 investors in my 4 years there, and I said no to all of them.
Wow.
Except for the 11th guy, because the 11th guy was very persistent, and he was very, and I tried so hard to resist. But he was just like, I respect everything you do. I see talent, and he had the means and the whatever. So, and I think at one point he waited for me. I was coaching 4:30, 5:30, 6:30, 7:30, 8:30, and he basically waited for me up until like the end. And then he's just like, I'm just saying, You know, if
Wow.
you're thinking about it, and I'm like, I think I was emotionally vulnerable.
Yeah.
You know, I was just
You're
so
tired at the end of that
yeah.
class. You're just like, all right.
It was like months of dealing with the other stuff, and I'm just like,
yeah.
fine. You know, so we started talking, and then plans started forming, and then after that, I think nothing was the same, because I think in my head, it was already one foot had already already stepped out the door before I realized it. And so as you're driving around LA, all you see are like for rent signs.
Yep.
And like these, and I'm just like, no, like this can't be, you know? So that was terrifying to me. Like that was legit terrifying, because
It's that like thought virus, the
Yes.
seed that gets planted.
yeah. It's like Inception. I got fucking Inception. So
And how deep into CrossFit Nerd before you realize, like, I don't think I want to do this?
yeah, so that game was so tightly played. Like the margins were so tight towards the end. You know, when you're going for a PR snatch, the difference is like 2 centimeters
Right.
between making it and
Yeah.
not making it. So when I opened up Nerd, there were 4 partners, and they put all their faith in me, and like, there was that. And you learn very quickly, especially in a leadership position, you learn very quickly what you're really good at and what you just don't like at all, right?
Yep.
And so I made every single business owner entrepreneurship mistake there was. Like I was very comfortable and great with the front end stuff, like being the face of the gym and attracting the attention and building the personal leverage, things that just naturally came to me at this point. Like it was we were allowed to do business in a high school, which I did a podcast on episode 2, and in exchange for certain services with the high school, and everything was great. But I think because every month as a business owner, you have to look at your profit and losses, you have to look at your expenses, you have to manage the bank account. So as I was into it, maybe 1 or 2 months into it, I was spending more time doing non-gym stuff than like 90% of the time was website this, bank that, city this, lawyer that, signature this. And so I remember I signed more documents. Oh my God, dude. I signed more documents between October 13 to December 13 than I signed in my whole life previous to that, and writing blogs for the website and looking at sales. And
Social media?
And social media, and which I didn't even like. I have this abiding fear and hatred of technology that's only starting to abate now, and so all these things, and only 5% of the time can you talk about squatting and deadlifting. And then it's back to opening up this pile of mail from the bank, and like all these magical credit cards that just keep showing up. So it was like, oh, you just opened a business here. Oh,
0% balance transfer.
My God, people find you, man. Like they find you.
Yeah.
And they're just like, and so that's when I was like, this shit is not fun at all. Thankfully, I had people who were like, who were there to help me out and try to help me with those things. But like the bookkeeping, and it was just fucking terrible. And so
I just did accounting last night. I would like to rip my eyeballs out. It's
Yeah.
awful.
And that is not a rip on accountants at all.
No,
No.
If anything, it's like
We
so
need
much
you.
respect. So much
Yeah.
respect for.
Thank you for doing what you do.
Yeah, if you could just do like practical math that literally drives the economy of a business and therefore the country. Good on you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think after a year and a half in, there was where we thought we would be versus where we actually were, and I knew that we weren't where we thought we would be, and I knew intuitively that was all my fault, or that was all my responsibility. And I think at this point, I hadn't worked out nearly as much as when I did when I was just an athlete. I missed it so much. And by this time, all the people I'd grown up in CrossFit with either had their own gyms or they were trainers of their own, and we were all going through the same like bullshit, And so I started to take a look at it. We had opened the gym with the Mad Lab model, which I completely understood and completely was on board with. But the 2 things that I didn't agree with them off the front, which later bit me in the ass, was learning how to be a salesperson and respecting the business aspect of any business. And I had to sit down with myself and have a hard talk in that there's a way that the gym can go, and there's a way that it is now, and there's a way it's going to continue to go if I don't change, or if I remain the same. If I remain the same, it's going to just like eat itself, and all we'll have is
self-awareness moment.
Yes, like all we'll have is the honorable death. If I decide to embrace the discomfort and accept the inevitability of growth and change, then I would have to actually suck it up and address the demons that were holding me back from doing what needed to be done. and that's when I watched the movie The Wolf of Wall Street.
Yes.
And after I did not see the lewds and the hookers and the coke. All I saw was this guy has a skill that I need. And so I looked up Jordan Belfort, and I was obsessed. Like, it can.
Well, there's something like kind of recently that you watched that influenced how you coach.
Sure, yeah. And that actually was more, that influenced what that filled a hole that needed to be filled business wise. It actually didn't change very much my coaching philosophy.
True.
That's why it wouldn't be fair for me to say,
that's a good point.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If the question was like, your back end business stuff,
Right.
absolutely, that would have been it.
So what did The Wolf of Wall Street teach you?
So, the reason I tell people that I have a business mentor, but I don't mention the name, is because I know they will. I know they will associate immediately the man with the vicissitudes. You know, they won't associate the skill set that he brought.
The guy on lewds crashing his car. That one. Was that?
Yeah, exactly. So, I know. There was this one interview of his that I watched where, you know, the movie ends with him actually teaching people sales.
Yeah.
So I stumbled upon that program and I'm like, yep, this is the one I need, because the first thing he says was like, hi, my name is Jordan Belfort. This is the straight line system, and this system is for you if you are a business owner, coach, entrepreneur, salesperson, all these things that I knew I had to address. So it's kind of like when you're ready, the master will appear type thing. And it was just like, it was perfect. And I watched all his interviews, and one of the things he said was, I know that I'm a great salesperson, but I'm even 10 times a better sales trainer. I can take the dumbest of the dumb, and I can take, he describes his crew in The Wolf of Wall Street as guys, their IQ was like Forrest Gump on 3 drops of acid. And he can literally take them and teach them how to talk to and close the top 1% in America. And he did. And so,
it really becomes, it's more of an emotional intelligence thing.
Yes.
That's more malleable than any sort of fixed intelligence quotient.
Yes, exactly right. And so I was like, when I was listening to this, I was like, I need this skill set for myself. I need it because there are people now depending on me, for their livelihood. I need it for them. So I remember this was probably the mistake I made, is like, I just hold up myself and I just got obsessed and I like learned all this stuff. But like in any relationship, if one partner withdraws for fucking 6 months and doesn't talk to you, of course they're going to think you're checked out. When the truth was, I was like, I was investing in myself so I can give them this stuff. I think when that happened, they had already assumed, rightfully so, that I was out, that I had checked out. And so by the time I came back to them, they were already checked out. It was just bad. So, that's like a very condensed version. I'm sure if you find any of them, they're going to tell a completely different version. So that was my thing. So it was like the lesson learned too late, where you can only apply the lesson to your next girlfriend, not the current girlfriend. It's like, sorry, babe.
And then she's like she's like looking at you like now so happy with this new one. She's like, why couldn't you have been that guy when we were together?
Yes.
Like, couldn't you have got your shit together sooner?
Right. It's like, and it sucks because I could sit here and be like, I tried, but it was my fault. You know what I mean? Like, it was completely my fault. I went to the Himalayas for 2 months and hung out with the ninjas to learn self-control, but it took 6 months and I came back, and rightfully so, it moved on. So
you can't rush Ra's al Ghul's teaching.
Right, exactly.
When you're ready.
Exactly right. Yes.
So
you will surf it.
Did you are his trainings like online? Like on interviews on YouTube?
So much of it is, a lot of it is on YouTube. There's so much of it on YouTube, and there is also a paid course. Like there is a paid thing.
Alex is like, okay.
I know, I'm like, ooh, another paid course?
Yeah, it's so
I
good.
love courses.
Yes, it's great. It's like really great. He just came out with a third book, but I spent maybe a year just getting his free stuff online because I didn't have the money. Right. But I always knew that someday I would actually invest in his course. And he's going to hate me for saying this, but every 3 or 4 months, he has some kind of crazy sale. Mm-hmm. So if I were you, I would just wait. Wait for him to be like the straight line precision system, straight line marketing, the script builder, the book, this and that, all this for a killer price. Right. Wait for that.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Have you ever met him?
No, I want to someday. I want to at least be like, hey,
thank you.
Yeah. Like you changed my life. You helped me. And that's the good and bad of the internet webs, because you have no idea who's listening.
I know.
And you have no idea the one thing you said at minute 58 that completely changed this person in India. And but I promise they're going to want to, if they do it right and they grow right, they're going to want to come here and meet you. Like I want to someday go up to him and shake his hand and have him sign the books, just because he I forgot how much the thing was, but it has easily repaid itself,
Yeah.
not just in monies, but
That's great.
in relationships and stuff. So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I was just watching that movie this week.
No way.
Yeah.
It's like one of my top 5 favorite
I've
movies
actually
ever.
never seen them.
No
You
way.
need to
Now I'm like
watch it.
super embarrassed.
Dude.
No, it's really good.
Dude, Jared, it's like not what you think. It is not,
I mean,
No,
yeah,
I
'cause
love
it-
Leo. I love Martin Scorsese.
It's
Yeah.
a great film. Margot
Yes.
Robbie,
Margot Robbie.
amazing.
Oh, Margot Robbie.
But I mean, also what you're saying, it's like ignore the lewd and all
Exactly.
that other stuff. But yeah, sales is sales,
Sales is
whether
sales.
it's in training
Yes.
or retail or whatever.
Yes.
Like I think people forget that you can't just open a studio or a gym because you like to do the workout or
Right.
yoga.
Right.
And I in the yoga space run into that all the time.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I just love yoga, so I open a studio, and
Yeah.
it's just so frustrating.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the one thing I can leave people. So one of the things that he said was that, first of all, in order to be successful, there are 8 things that you need. There are 2 worlds you need to operate in. One is the inner game, which is in your head, and one is the outer game, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so he talked about the inner game, where there are 4 elements in each world. There are 4 elements of the inner game. There are 4 in the outer game. And in the inner game, there was your ultimate vision and your focus on that vision. Number 1. Number 2 was your state management, like. There are certain states that are empowering and optimal for everything. So if you're a mother, the best state is like patience, or if you're a salesperson, the best state is certainty, and if you're a soldier, the best state is resolve, and discipline. So, or if you're an athlete, the best state is execution. So all these things. So if you're having a bad day, you could be the best mother, but if you're having a bad day and you can't control your state, you're actually the worst.
Yeah,
So
because of the outcome you want. Your behavior's not going to match the outcome you
yes, right. Yeah. So there was vision, there was state management, there was your standards, your subconscious standards. So he obviously has very high financial standards. CrossFitters have high fitness standards. And business owners have very high like profit and loss standards. And so if your standards aren't high, you will only meet the standards that you have for yourself. And at that
Yeah.
time I had very low financial standards, if non-existent,
So making that explicit for yourself.
Exactly right. Yeah. And then finally, the 4th one was your belief systems and how everyone has subconscious beliefs that we are not aware of that will inform your decisions that you make. And so when I listened to that, I was like, fuck, that makes so much sense, because in my heart of hearts, I saw sales as evil, and I saw money as the root of all evil, and I saw business as corrupt, and I didn't like meeting new people. Can you imagine running a business with those subconscious beliefs? Even though I saw physical training as the destiny and salvation of humankind, and I saw relationships as the be-all, end-all of anything, that was great for the front end, but for the back end, if you do not respect the economics, if you don't respect the accounting, of course you're going to run it to the ground, So those were one of the lessons that I found out like too little, too late. So I knew I had to get in and dig and replace those disempowering beliefs with empowering beliefs, and it took about, I'd say, 1.5 to 2 years to actually do that.
Okay, so now, if that same investor from the persistent 11th one.
The 11th investor,
If he was here today after
Yes.
this podcast interview, standing outside being like, Zeb, I'm ready to go round 2, would you consider it based on what you know now and feeling a greater competence and appreciation for this back end side and wanting to give it a second go?
The first thing I would say to him is I would be like, number 11, let's sit down and let's have some lunch and let's talk, because I feel so badly with the way I did not treat him very well, just because I was so, I feel like there was so many things going on, and I was so like stubborn and so single-minded, and
So let's patch some things up.
Exactly right. Like I would like to apologize to him for the way I treated him and the way that I handled everything, even until the end. I could tell, looking back, he had so many great ideas, and he was trying to respect my space while also contributing. And I'm not proud of how I treated him back then. So the likelihood of us entering into another agreement would, first of all, be crazy. But second, that would be the first thing I would want to do, is to sit down and buy him lunch and explain myself and apologize.
Yeah.
That's what I would want to do. Assuming that he forgives me and wants to move forward, my response would actually be, we can revisit the gym ownership business in about 5 years. And the reason why is because if I were to go into business ownership again, it would not be the gym business.
Yep.
It would not be the gym business.
What
right?
would it be?
I'm actually in the middle of it right now. I'm actually getting into the e-commerce space.
Yep.
Because the freedom is there, the
Yes,
scalability is there,
yes.
the automation and leverage is there.
Yep.
The earning potential is there.
Yep.
We've talked about
speaking
this,
Alex
and
is
you're
like,
speaking English.
yes.
this is like major confirmation bias.
Oh
right
boy.
here.
Yeah.
Oh boy. So yeah, like, and it's crazy because I have not informed my staff. I don't know why I'm whispering. If people hear me.
They might hear, but we won't put it out for a long time.
Yeah, that's
Yeah. We're kind of late in how when well, by the time this comes out, it'll probably be 5 years later.
Exactly.
You've already done it.
Yes.
No.
Yes, I have not informed. I have not informed my own staff what my plans are, but basically,
You mean the Spry City Society?
yeah. But I feel comfortable because I know they don't listen.
Yeah.
So
What are you talking about? Do you know how many
Yeah.
listeners we have?
They will once you share this after it's out.
so basically, I've been a coach for about 10 years. I found MadLab 10 years too late. You know, if we had the MadLab model, and it sucks because the Spry Society has the perfect the perfect ownership team. They give me so much freedom. They give me so much trust. The clients are perfect. The location is perfect. The neighborhood is perfect. Silicon Beach just opened up like walking distance from it. Everything is set up so perfectly. There's even 2 gyms that are spitting distance from us that I love the fact that they're there, even though like they don't like they're there. And so my big breakthrough, I guess, for 2017 was learning how to think long-term versus thinking short-term because I'm a transplant patient. I just celebrated year 12. And
Congrats.
when they gave it to me, when I got it, they said I had 10 or 15 years.
Oh,
Wow.
And so I think subconsciously I only have now. Like it doesn't make sense. I don't know how to plan for the future because
Yeah.
in my head I didn't have one.
Wow.
So for me there was only the moment. Like there was only now. And what now means to me is GTL. Like now means gym, tan, laundry. That is it. I'm gonna work out, go to the beach.
But you're already so
eat.
tan.
Exactly. And the promise I made to my donor was, you saved my life. I promise I will not live life with regret. Every second that I'm alive, if I were to die at that second, there would be nothing unsaid and undone. And I have accomplished that. And so I'm so happy with that. But I never dared to look beyond like 6 months. You know what I mean? I so love being a trainer, and I so love the people that I have, and I'm so fulfilled, and I'm so happy.
So speaking of that,
Yes.
in your bio
Yep.
on Spry Society,
Yep.
you write, and I quote,
Yes.
I work in a dialysis clinic and
Yes.
have seen the future.
Yes.
So I want to know, we want to know, our
Yeah.
listeners,
Yeah.
our Behind the Podium community wants to know, what does the future of coaching look like?
So when I wrote that, I'm talking about the future of humankind absent a acknowledgement and realization of the CrossFit methodology or just physical culture.
For sure.
So here's what it looks like in real life. A dialysis, I'm just going to make the number simple. You have 20 chairs. There are 3 shifts each day. So there's 60, you see 60 patients a day in dialysis. For people who don't know what dialysis is, your kidneys have failed or your liver have failed. Their jobs have to be done by a machine. The kidneys and liver work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, forever. The machines only work when you're on them, which is 4 or 5 hours, 3 or 4 times a week. So at best, you get like 10, 15% of the benefit. So, and I was on dialysis too myself, so I know how it feels. It feels like shit. So, of the 60 people that are there, only 40 or 50 of them actually have to be there. And what I mean is, if 20 years previously, someone had taught them how to squat, deadlift, sprint, climb rope, eat broccoli and fish versus Chips Ahoy and tacos, they would not be in dialysis. That I can say with a moral certainty. And it's not just the dialysis center, but in I used to work in a hospital here in Santa Monica, and this is where I did Kenny Kane wrong, so I'm going to do it right now. Kenny Kane wanted me to talk about how the relationship a coach has with their client is better and superior to the relationship they have with their doctor.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because so many people that either perish from chronic disease or are admitted to a hospital have not been there without 20, 30 years complicitness in their own decrepitude or their own demise.
Yeah.
It sucks because arguments can be made that it wasn't their fault.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
And sometimes they just don't know what they don't know.
They don't know what they don't know. And it sucks because by the time that the truth is presented to them, they either are not in a place to receive it or they are in a place to receive it emotionally, but they're not in a place to do anything about it. And there were patients that I had that just literally from the economic standpoint, every patient has a nurse's aide, a nurse, a specialist, a nutritionist, a doctor, and a social worker. and all these people get paid pretty okay for one person.
Right.
But at the end of the day, the person is just brought back to normal and then sent off into the world with nothing to prevent them from coming back for the same thing. And that is money being flushed down the toilet. And I remember leaving the hospital and just looking at all the rooms, and this is happening in all the rooms. And that's like millions of dollars every day.
Being
and it was
spent on
healthcare. It was horrifying to me. And so I remember when I was there, I was just learning about CrossFit. I was just learning about the things we were doing and how cutting edge we were, and I was getting into debates or whatever with essentially everybody. But inside of 2 weeks, the nurses were asking me advice on exercise. The doctors were asking me about cholesterol. The nurses' aides were getting into debates with me about. I forgot. The nutritionist was asking me about nutrition advice. Why? Because I had just given the Paleo Zone diet to 400 people at Paradiso, and I have all the data. But they don't. All they have is studies. All they had was what they learned in school, which was contrary to what I was telling them.
Right.
And after a while, I was like, "This is wrong. I'm just a lowly nurse's aide from St. John's. I should not be telling you about this. You should be telling me about this.
Right.
You should have the data to be giving to me." So that's when I realized, like, I am serving two masters, and I felt so betrayed, because I'm on the preventative side and I'm on the treatment side, and the preventative side, which is the gym, is so much better and so much funner. You guys live that,
Heck yeah.
versus the treatment side, where there's so much money being thrown away and there's so much misinformation, and I will say I don't want to attribute evil to, the people running it, because I don't want to, but there's so much like well-intentioned misguided decisions, that is both micro and macro fucking terrible.
Yeah.
So,
well, even like I complain about this with my husband all the time with health insurance, because we are in our late 20s.
Yeah.
Like the only time we go to the doctor is for the physical once a year. I'm like, I'm paying all this money, but like for what? For,
Right.
I get hit by a car and then we're not going to go into super debt. Like that's all it covers. Why can't it cover all the yoga, acupuncture, like the preventative well-being things?
Yes.
But that plan is so it's so expensive. Nobody can afford it.
Right. That is one thing I'm struggling to find an easy solution for, because I have to take meds every day for the kidney. And if there's anyone who should be an advocate for like low price healthcare, it should be me. You know what I mean? But I'm not gonna go there, because I don't want to be a hypocrite. But I don't know. I actually don't have a good answer besides, don't put myself in the position that I see my own patients in by 2025. By 2025, I should only be paying for meds and once every 3-month doctor visits.
Right.
And that is it. And maybe some calamity thing. And yes, in our system, the more rich you are, the more free you are. The more economically better off you are, the better off you are in general. There's so many doctors now going to concierge service, and I don't blame them. Them. And so
the system's so sad that like these doctors, the more educated ones are refusing to be a part of the system, which would help things.
Well,
because
it's ripping them off too.
Them off, right? Yeah. The purpose and passion of a doctor is harder to fulfill as a doctor now than a CrossFit trainer has a better shot at fulfilling the purpose and passion of a doctor than a doctor has a fulfilling doctor. And it is not incumbent upon the doctors to make sure that I can afford them. The onus is on me to do that. That is why, if number 11 and I have that talk, give me 5 years. I want my first $1 million before 2020, and I want to be living off passive income by then. Then we can look at opening up another gym, and it would only be with the acceptance that it's a passion play. It's not there. There will be extremely little profit.
Yeah.
And by the time, and even after the profit is seen, if all your coaches are killer salespeople, given the real estate laws here in LA, you're not going to see any cash inside of like 3 years if all your guys are killing it off after day one. Those are just the economics of running a gym.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be great. You're going to make a difference in so many lives. You're going to meet so many people. You're going to network the fuck out of yourself, because everyone who's there are successful in their own field. So there is that. But as far as entering into a partnership to own a gym, that is not something that I would do for a long time unless I myself am in a significantly better position.
Yeah.
So, but e-commerce can give us that.
Yeah.
Right?
Woo-hoo.
So
yeah, we were just talking about this at lunch too. It's like, I want to be in a place where I can teach because I want to.
Because you want to, yes. That is where, like, I'm a full-time coach. I don't know. I'm a full-time coach at Spry now. But the conversation I have to have with them pretty soon is that over the next few months, a transition must be made for me to become a utility coach, because I'm going to be traveling 5 months out of the year. And when I'm going to New Zealand and the Dolomites and Mallorca, I'm going to be gallivanting, but also at night I'm going to be doing my stuff and just be making money.
Right.
And then when I'm back in home, I'm going to be coaching because I want to, not because there's this. Even though it's something I love, it's still an obligation because you're still broke. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't want to I want to be there because I want to be there, and I just hate not having leverage. So that's what that is.
No, you're definitely on the right path, though.
Yeah.
As a fitness person who's gone online.
Yes.
It's not easy.
No.
But you've already done the business side of it.
Yeah.
But it just makes it so much better.
You know what? I've thought about the online remote coaching type deal, but the only thing I see wrong with that is this. If you're and here's where the relationship of a coach is superior to your doctor. I don't know how much people pay for doctor, whether it's insurance or not, but money is being paid to the doctor because it's a professional service. And money's like, for tax people, my tax person is $450 an hour for business taxes. For lawyers, it's a $10,000 retaining fee. At its best, what is MadLab? Like $850, $950, like $1,100?
Yeah.
It's not even fair. And the effect that you have for people, we already know it changes lives. Changes lives in a way that is more impactful, more healthy, more longer lasting than their, let's just say it, right? Than their doctor, than their car mechanic. But there's like 10 times the magnitude of pay being remitted to them with no question. It's just like accepted.
Yeah.
So unless we start accepting that as the truth, and unless we start charging people the commensurate rates that they charge to equivalent inferior professional services, inferior impact, not inferior,
no, that's a good point.
but inferior, then the hope is going to be very nil for us to enjoy a lifestyle that befits what our contributions are.
Preach.
So that is what I think Kenny wanted me to say. Sorry, Kenny. That is what Kenny wanted me to say at that, but I wanted you guys to have something that you could tactically use immediately.
Yeah.
That's why I went that way.
But it's so true too, and then I think that comes as far as like pricing things on the internet, because a lot of my friends are putting up classes on the internet and doing things, monthly memberships, things like that, and pricing it so low because they're thinking about the like, oh, well, there's not enough people and I need to get people in, and it's just about this. And it's like, no, but like, you are so experienced and you know so much. You should be charging what you're worth, not what you think she's worth and comparing,
Yes.
Charge what you're worth.
Oh, it's insane. And like, one of my clients just bought a house, and the windows aren't right. $40,000, just like that.
Yeah.
God cried on LA for 3 days, and like the rains just came. And so there's a leak on her roof. It's like another $30,000-$40,000, And so for that same money, what could we have done? Like, where could that same amount have put her as far as like the gym or personal training or self-investment?
Yeah.
So that I think that is where the disconnect is. These industries have somehow made themselves in the public eye and the public subconscious known as straight up high value investments. And I don't think that we've done our part to make that known.
Yeah, there's no class pass for lawyers.
Exactly right, yeah. And even if a lawyer wanted to go that way, they can kiss goodbye to whatever lifestyle that they think they're going to have.
Yeah.
Even though, yes, arguments can be made that they're doing God's work, that is a decision that they should make.
Yeah.
Outside of business as usual. Not that's just fucking business as usual.
Yeah.
So all that being said,
Yeah.
what does the future look like?
When I said that, I said the future look. Do you remember the movie WALL-E?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is the future. That is the future.
know.
That is the future. I love Western civilization. I fight to the death for it. But every choice has its pros and cons.
Yep.
If people are allowed to, that's the dichotomy of freedom, right? Like, there's no conversation about freedom that can be had without a conversation about responsibility. And so, if people are allowed to continuously be like lazier and softer, and no attention is being paid to their own self-health, and if on the larger scale other people are being made to pay for that laziness, the future will look more like
exactly like WALL-E.
Yes.
Yeah.
And for those of you who haven't seen WALL-E,
It's a good movie.
yeah, it's a great movie, and humans over time have evolved to a sedimentation-based fat
Well, their
state.
bones
Yeah,
shrank,
yes.
and then they're just in like
just
motorized scooters.
Right. Sit in front of computers.
You would stand no chance. Like if we were to be invaded by an outside, there would be no chance. Like there would be no sense of self-respect, no sense of self-pride. It would look like, please, sir, just take whatever you want. Please, there would be no like, no,
Yeah.
this is my property. Get off.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, even on the beach as we were walking this afternoon,
Yeah.
like, oh, cool, a lot of people are out. They're all on motorized bicycles and
Yes,
scooters. And I'm
yes.
like, no,
What is
use
this?
your body.
Right. It's like,
Use
what
it.
is this?
Yeah.
That, Jared, is the future. And that's the thing too, because Western Civ has created our own market advantage.
Yeah.
Right. So without people being in that state in the first place, we ideally wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
Right.
Right, right.
But we are at the vanguard of preventing that. So in that sense, it is probably my greatest honor to be a coach on the floor. That is, every time I am a coach on the floor, I'm fucking Hannibal invading Italy. You know what I mean? Like that is how I feel.
Yeah.
And because it's a huge honor. So
Well, and it's such a huge impact on their
Yeah.
day-to-day life. You
Yes.
know, like I want to help people move better and feel better, and
Yeah.
we can do that.
yeah.
Like
yes.
today.
Yes, today, right now. And yeah, like where I just came from was softball, and that happened. That just like kind of happened as a result of the community. And before that, I came to the gym with the stretching. So those are happening. So that's where the hope is. That's where the pride and joy is. So
And those are the tactics. Those are the interventions to defend against
Yes.
this Wall-E
yes, exactly right. Yeah.
potential.
Yeah, and even the side effects of that can fulfill so many holes that people didn't know they had. Because, one of the marks of Western civilization that I think they did right was the putting forth of the value of the individual and the capacity of the individual.
Yeah.
But one of the downsides of that, one of the side effects of that is that people tend to get lonely, and there's no precedent for, it's not like family life is necessarily prized. It's not like when a baby is born, it usually takes a village. And in other countries, like there is a village that raises like one baby. But here it's just this crapshoot because both parents are working.
You got to hire a nanny.
You got to hire a nanny if you have the means, and if you do have the means, it's hard to find a good nanny.
Yep.
So it's a very weird split there. But if you bring the baby to the gym on a regular basis, like there's your village. You know what I mean? And so that's already addressed. The baby sees adults doing rope climbing and clean and jerks, so it's like it becomes normal to them. So that's the cool thing. Like I feel like CrossFit gyms have inadvertently found the solution, to not just chronic disease but to psychosocial needs. And and if you, like I said, if you do it right, I want to put this out there because I'm very proud of it. But Steve, my first guest, he asked me to officiate his wedding. And.
Awesome.
It was awesome. But then what happened after that was more people started asking me to officiate.
Wow.
So I've done 4.
Wow.
All of them were CrossFit clients.
Amazing.
And I was just asked to do 3 more this year. 3 for
Wow.
2018.
Oh my God.
Yeah, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 5, 6, 7 for this year. All of them are CrossFit clients.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
It's insane, And so from just wanting to teach fitness with no desire for the outside stuff to being asked to officiate weddings, and I was best man at another like CrossFit guy's wedding. Those things mean so much to me because I feel like it's a testament to how the gravitas of the relationship, And the irony is so crazy to me because my track record is not awesome. Like the longest relationship I've ever been in was like 4 or 5 months, right? And so they're asking me to straight up marry them, and so I'm just like, that the irony is.
Well, you
is
just
like,
say some sentimental stuff.
Yeah,
That's all.
exactly, yeah. So that was a huge honor for me, but so much more happens besides prevention of chronic disease and fulfillment of your human potential. There's so much more than that.
Yeah.
Where to the extent that humans are social creatures and we need each other, that is going to be realized in ways that we never anticipated within the walls of a CrossFit gym. And the only downside to that, I think, is as a coach, people have to move away. And LA is a very transient area.
Yep.
So I've seen lots of people come and go. Like there's people who I love so much and should have stayed, but they left. And there are people who maybe don't belong in the gym and fucking stay.
They're still
so
there.
yeah. And so, but yeah, so we're sitting pretty right now. If you look at it as there's always going to be opposing forces and as long as you know you're on the right side for the right reasons.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think too, for any business owners, gym owners, studio owners listening,
Yeah.
you want to make a community where people want to come hang out
Yes.
because you can go do yoga, CrossFit, whatever,
Yes.
anywhere.
Yes.
But you won't find the community that you can create
Right.
other than at your spot.
Exactly. Yeah, I couldn't say it more. Like I told them when I was talking with them, the staff and clientele of any gym is a reflection of the subconscious beliefs of the owner.
Yep.
And I've visited over like 50 or 60 gyms at this point, and all you have to do is, there's always the same like personality types, but it's easy to see the staff, and it's easy to see even on their website and the way that they carry themselves and the way they go about things. It's a reflection of the philosophy, the expression, the choice of expression of the philosophy of CrossFit that the owner has decided on. Mm-hmm. And it's great because that freedom of expression is important. You know, I've seen some gyms pull shit off that I'm just like, man, that is awesome. I don't know if I could even pull that off in my gym. And there's other gyms where it's like, okay, you know, even done shitty, there's still people, and there's still people who pay.
Yeah.
And so actually that's good. You know, that person would have been sitting on the couch otherwise.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's that as well. But,
Get people
yeah,
moving.
that's the future, I think.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Well, in the interest of time,
Yep.
we're going to move towards our rapid fire section.
Okay.
You do not need to feel pressure to have these answers be truncated or condensed in any way. This is merely a time where we're asking staple questions,
Yeah.
some of which other guests have answered,
Yeah.
and for me to hit you with them one after the other as opposed to collaborating.
Okay. Before we start, something just came to me, because since we were talking about the future so much, I am only accounting for what we know right now. So, for example, between now and 2025, we have no idea what's going to come up.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like in the last 10 years, the things that didn't exist are insane. You know, like between 1994
Like
and
the
now,
iPhone.
like the iPhone, like the largest real estate company that owns no real estate, like Airbnb. The
Yeah.
largest,
Right.
Wow.
the largest like taxi service that owns no cars,
Yeah.
which is Uber. You know, the largest.
And it's so great that you quickly reminded yourself of that.
Yes, there are things I am not accounting for both sides, because I'm assuming a linear progression for chronic disease. I'm assuming a linear progression for the vanguards, which are the CrossFit gyms. But I have not assumed the innovation of entrepreneurs. You know, so I'm just like, come on, America, let's fucking make this happen.
Come on, guys.
Yes.
So
Okay, yeah.
So let's start here.
Okay.
I think I've only asked this of maybe two other guests.
Okay.
And I'm fascinated. I'm interested to. I'm interested, and I think it'll be fascinating to hear your answer because of how you said you've spent time and had experience both on the treatment side as well as the preventative side, and potentially these two words could reflect each of those. So,
Okay.
if at all, how do you differentiate between health and wellness?
Oh, yeah. All right. So I remember when I read this, I laughed. I literally laughed out loud. And it wasn't, when people get into a discussion, the first step, or I think the first acknowledgement should be that rational discussion should be the zeroth axiom. And what I mean is the first step should be the agreement of the definition of the terms.
Right, we got to define our terms.
We have to define the terms, right? And so if we cannot agree on the terms, there's no discussion to be had.
There's no right answer.
Exactly
no one
right.
can be right.
Right. And so the only thing that we can agree on is that the definition of the terms be consistent, not whether they are right or wrong.
Yes.
So Zeb Pasquale's definition of fitness and health, of health and wellness, right?
Yeah.
For the definition of health, I have taken on CrossFit's definition of health, which is the Newtonian-based mechanical definition of health, where I see wellness as the molecular-based definition of wellness, where here's what I mean. Health is your work capacity across broad time, modal, and age domains. So health is your work capacity across your lifetime. So if you can run up and down steps and carry your own groceries and squat and deadlift into your 70s and 80s, you are healthy. It pays no attention and gives no concern to your resting heart rate, your cholesterol, your HbA1c. None of that is purely mechanical, purely Newtonian mechanical based. I can say that because I take meds that slow my heart, and absent those meds, I would be considered unhealthy. One of my friends is a operational asset, Navy SEAL. He has a over 150 resting heart rate,
Oh my gosh.
but he is still a deployable asset. So because of that, it will not be fair for me to term him as unhealthy. Why would they why would they classify an unhealthy human as an asset, and furthermore spend $1 million to send him overseas to accomplish a mission?
Right.
So so that is why the definition is stronger to me for that. For wellness, I am looking at wellness as the
Under the hood?
sure, like how people how I think people classify wellness in the hemodynamic setting. Is your blood work fine? Is your blood pressure fine? Is your heart rate fine? Like, are your liver numbers fine? So
That's not potentially the psychological features of.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I didn't even honestly pay attention. I didn't. I probably should have. I probably should have gone there. But I'm wondering if a fit person. I'm wondering if a fit person has a low psychosocial profile. In that, yeah, I'm sure there's people out there that are loners that live in the woods. But how
But now we just added another term, right?
Yes.
Health, wellness, fitness.
Sure. Yeah. And I remember in the What is Fitness article, those terms were there as far as like illness, wellness, fitness.
Right.
Remember that?
Yeah.
So that was my only exposure to the thing, where wellness represented normal. So, and by normal, there was no mechanical definition. There was only molecular definition.
Yeah.
And which I now see as a less useful, or rather secondary order concern definition versus the mechanical definition. So that is how I differentiate health and wellness. Health is work capacity across broad time, modal, and age domains. Wellness is the normal values of typical Western med being met. That's how I see that.
Okay.
Yeah, and in real world, what I mean is I've seen 400-pound women on beds that were specially made to handle all that, but their blood works are normal.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
Interesting.
yeah. So how useful is that to me? Can't go there, bro. Like I just can't. You know. So that's all.
Okay. Favorite coaching memory?
Oh man, that wouldn't even be fair. I can give you 3.
Okay.
That's the best I can do.
Top 3. I like it.
Yeah.
Start with the. Let's go work down. So, 3, 2, 1. Kind of ending with what you feel like is maybe more of the.
What if they're tied?
The
first?
So like,
showstopper.
Yeah. So like David Letterman style.
Yeah.
Okay.
Number 3.
Number 3, I would say, I have a cousin who moved here temporarily, 517 pounds, and so we've known each other for 30 years. Love him to death. You know, like we did this whole write-up about each other kind of thing. It was very emotional and very cool for him, but for the longest time, the family would bug him about his weight. I never bugged him once, which was weird because I was the only like fit person.
Right.
So I think
how it is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think that what he said was because I never bugged him about him, that made me safe. And he knew that I was becoming a trainer. He knew I opened up a gym. So this is when I had Nerd. So when he finally moved here, he did have it in his heart to approach me and actually, try it out. So long story short, he did end up joining the gym. It was just amazing because like the 400-meter ball run takes people like 2 minutes or less. It took him like 25 something minutes because he just walked with the 20-pound ball and had to take a break every like 10 feet. And to complete basically one lap around the track took a guy 25 minutes. But you're walking with 500 pounds. So the experience with him where I had to create movements for him, because because of the physics, he can't accomplish a lot of things that we can accomplish. But he could squat super fast, which means he's super strong, which gave rise to the discovery that if you had to choose between being an emaciated meth addict with a six-pack versus 500 pounds morbidly obese, you actually would rather be obese because you have strength, because you can squat 400, 500 pounds for reps, which was awesome. So, but he went from 517 to about 475 inside of like a 2 or 3 month period.
Wow.
And I tricked him into retesting the 400-meter ball run after a workout, and he was like 10 minutes faster.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I think the experience with him, I don't know professionally as a coach if I'll ever get another client like that again.
Right.
So that was a huge favorite for me, and I feel like having a client like that challenged everything that I knew up until that point. Because up until that point, you deal with relatively normal people, or even people who are kind of outside normal with like emotional problems or whatever, but never like this was a very extreme case. So I see that as kind of like the peak maybe of my like professional coaching career. Number two is when with guys it's expected, but with girls they are usually taught that they can't do pull-ups, they can't do toes to bar. So I remember watching actually one of my female clients link her first toes to bar after like a year, I think. I forgot how long it was. But to be able to actually link them, and she had no athletic background at all. That was so awesome. So awesome to watch. It trumped any guy's first muscle up. Just watching her do her first toes to bar, and she was so happy. She was almost in tears. Like, yeah. And so, yeah, I remember that very clearly. And then I think number one is the same person. We became very close. She had like the thinnest band to do pull-ups, but she was stuck here, like she couldn't actually clear her chin. And other girls who had started like behind her athletically got their pull-ups before her. So she was just feeling bad. And I think at the time I was just starting to learn how to give the paleo zone diet to people. And I know that I told her absolutely and without question, if you weigh and measure your food, I promise you will have pull-ups inside of 2 weeks. I promised her, And so, and she was luckily the type that thrives under the weighing and measuring solution. And so she did it. And I think a week went by, still no pull-ups. A week and a half went by. I'm now getting nervous because I promised this girl, right?
Promise.
Yeah.
But then I think I wasn't there. It's like, I was so pissed. But she texted me. She's like, I got my first pull-up. And then she got her second one and third one. And so I finally came in and I watched her do it. And it was amazing. And so I think it was the dual thing of watching her get her first kipping pull-ups and watching the zone diet make such a difference for her, because it wasn't just the pull-ups, but it was like, I feel fantastic.
Right.
I feel mentally clear.
And as a coach, being able to see that the answer was not doing more of the thing,
right,
but finding another tool.
Right. Exactly right. Yeah. It's like the saying, everything is everything, like how teaching pose running to a world-class sprinter, you're not going there under the guise of making the running times faster. Right. It's actually going to help their weightlifting. Right. So because of the unweighting concept and blah, blah, blah. So everything is everything. And that's why I'm like, you want more pull-ups? You have to start zoning. You know what I mean? And so the answer is so elegant and simple, but it's kind of like people always want that magic pill and they always want like this magic answer. And that's not it. It's like, if you are not eating a certain way, you're actually not CrossFitting. So those are my top three, favorite coaching.
Fantastic.
Ones. Yeah.
Last two. What are you working on currently as a coach?
Actually, so Greg Glassman described 3 levels of a coach in their career. The first one is you can teach the movements to others. Level 2 is you can teach others to teach others. And then level 3 is leverage. So what leverage means is beyond a certain point, you are no longer effective as a coach. I think it was beyond 100 to 150. It depends on who you ask. But if you have more than 100 to 150 clients that are under your care, anything beyond that is going to be very difficult for you to affect meaningful change. So the answer to that is to try to leverage yourself and to leverage your like knowledge and to leverage your reach. And luckily, we have the internet for that. I avoided that for the longest because I fear and hate tech because of Wall-E, right? And so I would say only within the last few months maybe have I accepted and embraced the role that the internet plays in sharing and information sharing. That is why I released my podcast. That's why I released my YouTube page. That's why I've embraced the possibilities of Facebook and Instagram. Because I remember when the internet came out, I remember when emails came out, and I remember when Facebook came out, and I was always the latest adopter, and I had to be forced or tricked into doing those things. My friends created a fake Facebook profile for me, and the guy who I was best man for acted as me on my Facebook and just played pranks on everybody. And they're just like, Zeb, are you okay? And I'm just like, oh my God. And so basically I was tricked into...
Had to confront
exactly,
it.
Exactly, right. So, but now I realize their power, I realize their reach, and so at this point it just becomes a discipline thing, just like any other tool, So that is what I'm working on, just how to leverage myself beyond, being on the floor.
Lastly, what does it mean to you to practice what you preach?
Nothing less than everything. And what I mean is, whether I'm working out now or whether I'm I don't think I was able to finish what I wanted to finish as far as the answer to what I'm doing, what I'm going to do in the future, as far as if number 11 came back, and if we wanted to do the gym thing again, wait another 5 years, because in those 5 years there are certain things I want to do. I don't want to look anyone in the face and tell and preach something to them that I myself am not practicing. It doesn't necessarily have to be like, I finished this workout in under 10 minutes, and therefore so should you. It's not that. It's I'm willing to take the same risks that I am asking of my people. Like, that's all.
Yeah,
and that's all any great leader has done. And so I was disgusted watching medical professionals have the shittiest health habits. That never sat well for me, I couldn't look my patients in the eye and tell them to eat a certain way or be a certain way if I wasn't like that. And so working in a dialysis center meant a lot to me, because I can look them in the eye and be like, I've been on this chair. I know how it feels. Look at me now. You know what I mean? And so there is hope, but you have to put in your work too. And so, like when I make it in e-commerce, I know there are people out there already who are waiting for me to make it, because if I sit here and tell them my goal lifestyle is to wake up in the morning, work out, eat, shower, work on my computer for a few hours, and then have the rest of the day to do whatever, and not worry about money, I feel like I want to be in a situation where I myself am accomplishing that.
Yeah.
So that's not the same as like me documenting my journey and being like, yeah, I have nothing now. I'm in the red right now, and I'm going to be in the red in February. I'm going to be in the red in March. But come June, July, August, September, especially November, December, it's going to be just mayhem, But from now until then, I'm going to be sucking ass for a while. But that's just part of entrepreneurship,
Yep.
And so, yeah, I think just coming from a militaristic type background, because I consider my formative years in a teenage military program. There is nothing acceptable about not practicing what you preach, right? Like there has been no great military commander, or even just recently Martin Luther King, who has not taken the stand. And when you think of the leadership code that I referred to before, how I will always be easy to find, I will always be in the center of the battle, and I will always be crystal clear where I stand and what I believe. That is what, I cannot think of one leader that has not fulfilled those criteria. And it has served me very, very well. It is scary as balls too, because you're putting yourself out there, you are vulnerable, you are making yourself available to take shots. But I think one of the true marks of leadership is that people want that person. Like they want someone to venture into the great unknown where they would not. So they can blaze a trail. And that's I just came from Norway, and I visited a sled dog farm thing, or a sled dog thing. And there's always like the two leaders in the front, and there's always like the good horses meaning just the work dogs. And we asked them, how do you determine who are the alpha, like who are the leaders in each race versus the other dogs? And they're like, we don't. They do that themselves. The leaders basically just differentiate themselves. And we're just like, oh, fuck. Like, so what are the characteristics of them? And you know what she said? Because you're thinking like they're good at rallying people, or they're good at like keeping calm in bad situations, even though both of those things are true. The first thing she said was, in large part, they are crazy and don't care. Because that is, I feel like that's more side effect than criteria, but I think one of the marks of leadership is that there's so much, you are leading people to a certain place, and a place that is unknown, and a place that is undiscovered. Yeah. And in order to do that, you have to be accepting of and willing to take risks. And that is very much I feel like that is very much the growth mindset, that is the abundance mindset, and that's the entrepreneurship mindset. And I think by default, that is the leadership mindset, outside of just committing yourself to a cause. Because I think it's easy for people to read that I have given my heart and soul to the methodologies of CrossFit, or I've given my heart and soul to the belief that physical culture is the destiny and salvation of our kind, of our race. And so it's that important. It's not just like, oh, I love training. Like, even though I love training, it's more than that. It's it has kept me vital and happy and alive and fulfilled for the last 12 years by rights, where I should be in a very much more inferior state than I am because of the meds I'm taking and blah, blah, blah. So, practicing what you preach is nothing less than everything.
Nothing less than everything.
Yeah.
Wow.
So good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much
Oh, yeah, this
for
has been great.
taking the time this afternoon. I've taken a bunch of notes
Oh, that's funny.
on the stuff that you mentioned and we talked about. Where can people find you and what you're up to on the internet?
So actually, I think I just recently changed my Instagram, but you can find me on Instagram under, I'm just looking it up right now. Yep, Zeb_Pasquale.
All right.
I'm on Facebook too. And my email is Zeb, Z-E-B, that's Zulu Echo Bravo, at sprysociety.com.
And then what about the
Pascal
podcast?
Project.
Oh, yeah, the Pascal Project is on YouTube. Yeah, I completely forgot about that. Yeah,
YouTube,
And iTunes.
iTunes,
And
Stitcher.
iTunes, yeah. On iTunes, on Stitcher, on
On
Google.
all the places.
All the podcast forums.
Listen to it on iTunes and wherever podcasts are available.
Yeah,
But
wherever
I'm only
podcasts are available.
I'm only 3 episodes deep, but yeah, I have guests lined up and it's super exciting. But I want to thank you guys too for having me. I was not expecting, I didn't know what I was expecting coming out of the thing that I gave for Kenny, but I'm glad it came to this.
Yeah,
100%.
thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Will you let me know when it's posted?
Of
We will
course.
certainly
Of
let you know.
course.
I want to take a picture with us
Oh,
too.
hold on. I was just going to say, if
Okay.
for those of you listening, if you enjoyed this episode and you want more, please do let us know what your favorite part was over at iTunes by leaving a 5-star review. We'll take a picture
Awesome.
and we'll do this again sometime soon.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Until next time.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to Behind the Podium, Unveiling the Coach. If you have enjoyed what you listened to, head over to iTunes and leave us a review. More information on each episode and the podcast in general can be found at behindthepodiumpodcast.com. We'll catch you next time.